All right, so this video is about the new Alabama Realtors 2024 exclusive right to sell property listing agreement. So this is the listing agreement that we are using at REMAX Advantage. It is the one that was approved in July of 2024. So that's the one that we're using. You'll see at the bottom of each page that it is the revised version from 7/2024. So that's the one that you want to be using. So we'll just go through each part of this so that you can feel really confident whenever you're presenting it to your sellers. So first, seller's name, qualifying broker, REMAX Advantage, and then your name as the agent. Okay. Property address, legal description, meets and bounds. Make sure there's a survey if you're choosing meets and bounds. Most of what we're doing now is the street address and the legal description. The listing period, when it begins and when it ends. Remember that even if it's coming soon, that has to be part of the listing agreement time period. The terms of the sale, the list price, and the acceptable financing terms, cash, conventional, HELOC, VA, FHA, owner finance, or other. A little disclosure that says during the listing period, the seller agrees to. Make sure that it maintains its condition that it was in whenever you listed it, to continue to pay any dues or mortgage, and to keep insurance on the property. Seller's broker compensation. Okay, this is where things have changed a little bit. So let me break it down for you. In B, if you want to do things the way that you've always done it, and you're going to continue to be a listing agent that cooperates with cooperating brokerages, which we as REMAX Advantage, we are a cooperating brokerage. So we are going to offer compensation to the buyer's agent. Okay. So what you would do here is you'd put seller agrees to pay, seller's broker, and then right here you would check the percentage of the gross sales price. Okay, and this is the total commission, your commission, and then anything that you are offering to a cooperating broker, cooperating agent. Okay, put the whole amount right here. Okay. And then here are the things that compensation will be given to you if these things happen. Okay. If a buyer purchases the property during the listing period, if the property is sold within blank days after the listing period to a buyer who was shown the property during the listing period. So you had the listing, a buyer walked through, they were interested in the property, but the listing expired or the listing was terminated, but that buyer was a result of you having the property listed, then you are due a commission. Okay. If the seller defaults under the terms, but we had a willing, ready, and able buyer, and then the seller just changes their mind, we're still due compensation. Okay. All of that part is normal. That part is the same. The only thing that has changed, let me go back right here. Number 2, it used to say unless it was relisted with another company, and that if it was relisted with another company, there was no way for you to get paid a commission. But that verbiage is no longer in this contract. So if a buyer walked through, or say a buyer even put in an offer and then you just couldn't come to terms, and then this listing terminated, that buyer comes back to the seller or something like that, then you're due a commission, as long as you put a number of days in here. Optional buyer broker compensation. Okay. So if we are going to do business as we have always done it, to where as the listing agent, it's my total commission, and then I am offering part of my commission to the cooperating agent, then we're going to do a couple of things here. Okay. B, we're going to say that the broker is authorized to offer compensation to buyer's broker. Okay. And if authorized, the payment, we're going to check I right here, this first I, or number 1. Payment will be made by seller's broker out of the compensation due to seller's broker under paragraph 4. That just means that the portion that we are going to offer the cooperating agent is coming out of our commission as the listing agent, okay, which is the normal way, okay? And then we are going to choose C number 1, the same offer to any buyer's broker, and then put the percentage right here. So say I am taking this listing for 7 apples, okay? And I'm going to offer 3.5 apples to any buyer's agent that brings a ready, willing, and able buyer. We get under contract, we close. They have brought someone, and my seller is getting the outcome they want, which is to sell their house. Then that's where we're going to put that amount right there. And you know, for me, I don't care if they are a transaction broker. I don't care what kind of agent they are. As long as they're a licensed agent, I'm going to pay them the same because it's in my seller's best interest for us to get to the closing table. Okay. So if you want to do things the way that you've always done them, B is authorized, this first checkbox. B1, payment will be made by the seller's broker out of the compensation due to the seller's broker. And then check C1, the same offer to any buyer's broker. Check the percentage and enter the percentage amount. Okay. There are a few other options. Again, we are a cooperating brokerage. So while the seller can do things in all these different ways, you have a business model. RE/MAX Advantage has a business model, and this is how we choose to do business. Okay, other companies may choose different ways. Other companies may not offer any buyer's broker compensation up front and then try to put it in later with the offers. We want our sellers to know up front that we are cooperating and that we want to get this in front of as many ready, willing, and able buyers as possible and their agents. Okay. Optional seller concessions. If your seller wants to offer concessions up front, then you can do this. You can say seller does authorize the seller concession, or you can say the seller does not authorize. The seller does not authorize does not mean that they won't pay concessions later. We're just not putting it in the listing up front that, you know, hey, seller's going to pay $10,000 up front, even though we don't know what the offers are. Okay, so just be real careful with optional seller concessions. Non-discrimination, this just says that we are not going to violate fair housing or the code of ethics. The seller's duty, what the seller is required to do during this listing agreement. Broker's agent duties, this is what you're required to do. Excuse me. The limitations of what you can do. This just says, you know, you're not an expert on property condition, on structure, on zoning, things like that, that if they want to know those things for sure, then they need to seek a professional in those different areas. And you're not a lawyer. Marketing the property, this gives permission to you from the seller to do these different things. Place a for sale sign in the yard, advertise, publish the property in MLS, place a lockbox on the property, and allow the use of property information when necessary or desirable in marketing the property. MLS disclaimer, just make sure that you put the Greater Alabama MLS or GAL MLS right there. Number 12 just goes over dual agency, and it allows the seller to say, yes, I will allow dual agency, or no, I will not allow dual agency. Explain to your sellers that at RE/MAX Advantage, you know, we close anywhere from 10 to 20% of our listings in-house, either by the listing agent or by another agent in our office who brings a buyer, and both of those are limited consensual dual agency at this time. How earnest money is to be held. Improvements and appurtenances. Okay. Any additional items to remain need to be written in. Any items that are excluded also need to be written in. Okay. This has decreased a lot from what they originally had in here. So it's just smaller. but it does allow plenty of room for any items to remain or any items to be excluded. If they're taking that chandelier, then you need to write that in. Lead-based paint, if it was built before 78. Wood infestation report, okay? This is not the termite bond. This is simply the wood infestation report, and this just says that at time of contract, Mr. Seller, you may be asked to provide a wood infestation report, okay? The seller either does or doesn't have a current termite contract, and the seller is or is not aware of any previous termite infestation or damage. Those are just the two things that you're asking the seller at that time. Disclosures, you got the property disclosure, floodplain, and community association disclosure. So a couple of these things are different. It says the property disclosure, the seller will or will not provide a property condition disclosure statement. Remember that we are a caveat emptor state. It is buyer beware. The burden falls on the buyer. So most of the time, we do not require a seller property condition disclosure statement. Okay, we leave that up to the buyer to satisfy themselves with the condition of the property, and that keeps the seller from warranting that each individual item their opinion of it. It puts the burden back on the buyer. Floodplain, the seller is or is not aware. The seller does or does not have flood insurance. Okay, and then community associations. This is probably the newest. So if your seller lives in a HOA neighborhood, there is a community association disclosure that just it asks them a couple of things about the HOA. How much are the fees? How often are they paid? What does it cover? That kind of thing. And you can have them fill that out at time of listing as well. Agent brokerage services disclosure. This is RECAD. This is just reiterating that you need to make sure to RECAD your seller. The sellers hold harmless, and everything that they have told you is true to the best of their knowledge. That they will attempt mediation and arbitration if something goes wrong. The sole agreement. So this is just saying that this is the only listing agreement. It's the only agreement between you and the seller. Any additional provisions right there, and then signatures. And that is the end of the exclusive right to sell property listing agreement. Remember, at the time of listing, it's always a great idea to get a seller's net sheet up front so that they can know what to expect. And you may even want to offer, a few things in there like, this is what it would be if you offered a home warranty. This is what it would be if you didn't offer a home warranty. This is what it would be if you offered some concessions. Here's what it would be if you didn't offer concessions. You can do all of those different things in your net sheet so that you and your seller are on the same page, and that you are both ready to get this home listed and sold. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.